I'm waving through a window that I've seen 10 times before. Where's the show that offers more? 2, 3, 4. Give me a little new music. How about a little new music? Too much time with the news has got me feeling news sick. Let's try a little new music.
This is the first time I'm premiering Mansplaining, my song from Glass Ceilings. A Little New Music is such a wonderful place to premiere a new musical theater.
I think it's great to introduce, my stuff to a new audience and also be part of a community that both values new musical theater and also supports it.
I had a song and a concert, and it felt like a really safe audience that really was in tune with what I was trying to say.
I came from the Bronx to come sing here. I'm singing Dance Floor. It's a new song from the Broadway show Talk to Me.
The song I get to perform tonight is called The Only Straight Boy in the Room, which really spoke to me.
I am singing a new song, Karner and Gregor's song called Fractured Fairy Tale. It's really exciting because we get to put our spin on it, and you're really a part of that process too, of bringing a show to reality.
Best talent in town, the best writers around the globe. It's not a casual cabaret, it's a highly produced concert.
This is my first time seeing A Little New Music. It gives you a little taste of what's new and what's to come, and it just makes me excited because I want to see every single show now.
I really think people need to come and experience hearing songs that have not been performed before. There's something incredible about hearing it for the first time.
Ballads, up-tempos, jazzy tunes, old school Broadway type of songs. Sometimes like the next Sondheim shows up, and you get to be a part of that.
Let's try a little new music. Come on, guys. Let's try a little new music. A little new music, that's the name of the show.
Hey folks, good evening and welcome back to A Little New Music Spotlight Series. My name is Keela. I'm one of our volunteer producers. Now, for more than 8 years, we, A Little New Music, have presented a myriad of fast-paced hours of new and unheard musical theater featuring over 150 writers and writing teams. And we're happy to be back tonight with you. And look, we're in the same room.
We're like, there's not like separate boxes. Hi, Keela. Happy summer 2021,
Cheers. Everyone. Happy. We're like Waldorf and Statler from the Henson's
That's
Muppets.
how we do. That's how we do. Thank you for being here. My name is Luke. I'm also one of our producers.
So in just a moment, we're going to bring out our amazing featured guest. But before we do that, we won't be shy. We do want to ask and have you please consider supporting A Little New Music. We do rely on you to compensate our writers and our performers. And, it helps make these virtual shows possible. So whenever you can, please scan the QR code and make a contribution.
Y'all, we are this close to being in person again. We also want to thank two organizations who help sustain our work, the ASCAP Foundation and New Musicals Incorporated.
Folks, we are live. I can prove it. We're live! We're live! We're live!
Well done.
Okay, so in a few minutes, we're going to take your questions for our writer. Get ready to type them into the chat. You never know, your question may be asked live on the air.
Okay, who's ready for a show? Let's bring on our guest. Tonight, we are so happy to have with us Zoe Sarnak. Zoe is a New York City-based composer, lyricist, and writer.
She is also the recipient of the 2018 Jonathan Larson Award of Rent fame, folks, and Tick Tick Bomb, and has been a finalist for the Fred Ebb Award, the Kleban Award, and the Billy Burke Ziegfeld Award.
Let's welcome Zoe to the show.
I said Tick Tick Bomb. I meant Tick Tick Boo.
I like Tick Tick Bomb. Have part 2 and we'll write it because I'm in.
Hi, Zoe.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're in New York City. It looks like you're downtown somewhere.
Yeah, downtown New York. The lonely office building across the way to make you feel right at home.
Someone is probably still in there working.
Yeah, working away because this is New York City.
So Zoe, we're so happy to have you, and we want to remind you that your work has been developed with and presented by Second Stage Theater Company, one of my favorites, New York Stage and Film, the Public Theater, Roundabout Theater Company, Williamstown Theater Festival, the Geffen Playhouse here in Los Angeles, the New York Theater Workshop, and on and on and on and on and on. So let's just start it off with just a simple question. What inspires you to write music?
I love that that's a simple question. That's not a simple question. You're like, who are you as an artist? Let's just but I love it. I think from a young age, I was like a math and science kid, pretty big nerd, and really like type A structure, like intense thinker. And I realized at some point that music let me quiet my mind and like feel and sort of channel that. And I really feel like music and writing music made me understand the world in a completely different way. And now I really do feel like I write music because it's the way that I understand the world. Any feeling that I have makes sense in sound. I don't know if that makes any sense, but somehow it made sense in my mind.
I mean, it makes sense to me. Zoe, in addition to all the credits that Keela listed off, your songs have been featured on the A Little New Music stage, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. So we're going to watch.
Is that a record?
I think it's pretty close to it. It's pretty close to it. So we're going to watch highlights.
That's news to me. Okay.
So we're going to watch. Well, I mean, when someone's good, they're good, right?
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we're going to watch some highlights from 2 of these songs. Before we do that, we'd love if you could tell our audience a little bit about each of these songs.
Sure. So I actually had a really nostalgic experience talking about these clips because they are songs that I wrote in my, earlier mid-20s. They're a piece of like a young chapter of my life that when I revisited them, I was like, oh, right. Like I remember that moment in my life. And the first is actually really interesting because I wrote it for a character who was feeling, it's a song cycle that got done a bunch in New York called The Years Between. It actually became the seat of my Geffen commission, which is fun. So thankful for that. But it tracked a person who had just moved to New York and then like a jaded version of herself in her 30s. Hilariously, here I am now being like, am I jaded now? Anyway, but this was supposed to be this moment when like the older version is forced to sort of see this really pure version of herself who is really a kind of a terrified person, terrified to take any risks. But I was like not out when I wrote it. So it's really interesting. Then a few years later, I came out and it was like, all of a sudden I was like, what was this song I was writing? So that's the first song. You'll hear this sort of like the gentle, scared part of it. And then you can go look if you want to see the part where she sort of explodes in the second half of the song. And then the second song is from a little short movie musical that I wrote. But it was inspired by, I was working with a cast with a lot of young international folks who had just moved to New York. And somebody told me a story about how when they were feeling overwhelmed, they used to go like sit in Central Park in the deepest part of the park they could find and just like sit by this tree, same tree, And when they were sitting by the tree, they felt like they could be home, like they could be anywhere. It was like a way. So that's the second song.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, can't wait
Shall
to see
we
My
watch?
Life. Let's watch.
It's been years, and there's nothing to show for a list of years, and you don't know where you've been, and you don't know where you're going, and you don't know how to begin to stand out, when a chance comes you know it won't come back around. Stand out, stand out. You're afraid, so's the other guy, but you march to his drum and you don't know why. You're so sure, can't catch a break, so you're breaking yourself for the molder's sake. But he don't know where you've been, and he don't know where you're going, no, you don't know how to begin. The city waits, I know. The city waits, it's the city that I chose. Please surprise. It's more, or maybe more. See a way out, a way in. Your building to do. Oh, say I don't care, say that it's fair, but it don't have this kind of you. We go down the world tonight, and I open my eyes on a windowsill to a leaf on a tree. Who knows where you'll be? Can we close down the world tonight? Tonight,
Night. Oh, hey, everybody.
My favorite part of that clip is watching the two of them like riff back and forth and having the best time of their lives. That's what the song is written for. Like totally such
That's awesome. So you have the riffing in mind. What was the time span between those two pieces we just saw?
like as in
Like-
how
like-
far apart in my life are they?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Maybe like 2 years making that up. It's the truth is Stand Out is like a song that I think I wrote and then like didn't know, like I didn't really know what I felt about the context of the show. Mm-hmm. So then it had this whole life in my late 20s when it became sort of, and you like the end of the song is like pretty large, and it became the sort of like 11 o'clock-y thing for that show. So I'm like, but that's not when I wrote it. I think I wrote it in my early 20s, you know. That happens all the time, right? Where you write something, you don't know what it is yet. Like it'll come back and then you find its home, you know.
Sometimes you write things and you didn't realize that you wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, and I really think about like my like queer identity that happened quite a few times where I was like, oh my God, like what is this feeling so sudden and new? Anyway, you know, like moving on. Years later, I'm like.
Before we ask a few more questions, though, I just want to remind our audience that if you have your questions, type them in the live chat now. We'll get a chance to have some of your questions that we will ask Zoe. So make sure that you type those questions in the chat. What ends up happening is our producers behind the scene just throw them up on the screen and we read them. So please be kind, but ask whatever questions are on your mind. Zoe,
that rhymed. We have a lyricist.
There
folks.
we go. There we go. That's what I'm going for. Zoe, actually, I don't know that you mentioned it tonight, but when we were talking about, things that you might want to share with the audience, you had mentioned that you started writing when you were 11 years old.
Yes,
can you tell us a little more about like how that came about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's funny because I have to replug my computer in because it's 2021 and these are the things that happen. I had taken like guitar lessons for quite a few years, and I think I was probably like messing around with the way I would play a song, but like not thinking of that as writing. And then in middle school, like beginning of middle school, I just sort of started writing these like hilariously earnest love ballads, like R&B, as if they were Boyz II Men songs, like as if I had ever felt anything proximal to those feelings. But that's what it was. Like little me was like, I know what I'm gonna write, and I swear, like step touch stuff, like simple request. That's all I wanted. Like that's a real piece of a song I wrote when I was 11.
Girl,
I know. Anyway,
but
that was the beginning, and I was lucky and had a middle school choir teacher hear a song I wrote and say like, our choir will sing it. And that was just like like people think this is good. Like I can do this moment.
So you're saying you had a very patient middle school choir teacher?
Very much so, because also like in what world was that? Like I'm sure I didn't have sheet music. I'm sure I didn't know how to teach the song. I have no idea how that went. But
what a great experience to be able to hear what you wrote, done with your school choir.
Yeah.
That must have been very kind of gratifying.
Absolutely. And I think we might have talked about this when we had a pre sort of convo. Like I don't really identify as a performer. I get asked to perform a lot as a writer doing their stuff. But so like when I was a kid, I wasn't like, I'm going to go to the local coffee shop and do an open mic night and play my song. It wasn't really part of, I had horrible stage fright actually. So other like choirs and sort of groups doing my songs, that's how I first heard them really,
Amazing. I think I wrote a requiem when I was in middle school.
See?
But
why.
I had like little notes on like some like, sheet music, but I was too shy to like even give it to my
But see, this is where I'm like, I don't remember how she heard it. Like that teacher, I just got lucky, and I feel like this when they say like teachers change your life, I'm like, Mrs. Nagan, you gotta give her props.
Hey, shout out to the teachers out there.
That's right.
Okay, so Zoe, you're a composer and a lyricist and a writer. Do you have a preference?
Well, not a preference though. I think I self-identify more as a composer lyricist, but because I've been doing TV film for the past couple of years, and in that world, you're kind of a writer if you sell shows and movies. Like they just call you a writer because they're like musicals. I don't get that. So that's been an interesting kind of like additional way of thinking of myself that I'm still really getting used to, being a writer and an executive producer, which like obviously means something totally different than in our theater world. But then like when I think about the way that it sort of relates back to what we were talking about earlier, I do think that if I have a feeling, the first way I want to express it is music and lyrics. So I think like composer lyricist is the sort of most center in my soul. What am I saying, guys? It's late.
I think we all speak musical theater, and when words fail us, we just go into Gypsy or Funny Girl or Godspell. Anyone?
Yes.
Hair.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
I mean, why do you think my hair is this long? It's a constant homage to one of the greatest shows of all time.
Amazing.
There you go. So we have a question from Katrina who says, if you could write with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Question.
Okay, I'm going to answer in a funny way because I'm not going to pick a theater person. But I don't know how this worked with McCartney and Lennon. But like, if I could have my John Lennon to like, I don't know, sometimes they're co-writing, sometimes they're competing, but like to be in a band with someone like that, I'm like, that would be amazing. And then playwrights wise, I would say, I'm like, this is so old school, but I'm just like a really big Tennessee Williams fan to this day. I think some of like the lyrical way that his text felt like lyrics so often.
Yeah.
So
and his stage directions are like novels.
yes, like even right, absolutely. So I think yeah, but I mean a million people because it's a laundry list. It'll just take us till.
So are you saying that you would want Lennon for some songs and McCartney for other songs because they're both so?
I mean, equally dope. I picked John Lennon's this is crass, the dead one. So
Love it.
But I actually, maybe I just get to be another Beatle. Maybe I just want to be one of the Beatles.
You just want to be a Beatle. That's all. That's all good.
As a child, I had a bowl cut, so I really think I could have, if they had just seen me for who I was.
So we will take more of our audience questions in a little bit, but before we do, we here at A Little New Music love bringing new and unheard musical theater to our audience. So now
that's what we do.
That's what we do. So now, Zoe, we're gonna show something that you wrote pretty recently.
Yes.
Can you give our audience just a quick little bit of context before we do?
For sure. That's a new word. We're trying it out. It's from a musical called Split that I'm writing with Michelle Lowe, and it's a Transport Group, which is a theater company here, commissioned, and they commissioned us to write a piece set in the 1950s. And so we were thinking about it, and we had this idea of, well, basically the idea of the show is a mother who wakes up her daughter in the middle of the night. The daughter is supposed to get married in a few weeks, and the mother says, we're going on that trip we've always meant to go to the Grand Canyon. The daughter's confused, but is like, okay. And so they set off, they hit the road, right? Middle of the night. Dad doesn't know we left, not sure why. And it turns out over the course of the show, you start to realize she's actually sort of like this Walter White-esque twisted anti-hero, but she's trying to get her daughter, who isn't going to college, to go to Berkeley where she's been accepted. But along the way, she left in the middle of the night with her daughter. She has no money to pay for gas or hotels. And it turns out that she grew up with her father having a folk club. So she starts to play at open mic nights and things to make change along the way to get them across the country. And this song, Write Your Own Ticket, the first stop they make is at the father's club. And the father is like, go home to your husband. What are you doing? And she refuses and instead competes in the open mic night with this song.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
Brand new, folks.
Wake up, put the coffee on. I wake up, splash water on my face to wake up every day. But I never wake up. It's what we all do. Do we ever wake up? Get out, grab the morning paper, get out, take a walk around the block to get out every day. But I never got out. If one thing's true, she has to get out. If for a moment one gate can open, if I can take one life off the shelf, crazy to dream she'll have the means. Will someone buy the ticket? Or could she write it herself?
That
was good.
That was good.
Can we all take a moment? I should have said this before the song. Katrina Rose is she's one of the greatest singer actors that any of us could ever know. And Katrina.
Well, I'm glad Katrina was available for this. Shout out to Katrina.
Yes, truly. I mean, like,
Is she watching?
What?
I hope she's watching. I know she
I
was.
think she might be. Is she on here? If she's on here, Katrina,
We love you, Katrina. We love you, Zoe. We love what you've created together.
Sending lots of love.
And I bow to your greatness.
So, audience, if you have questions, now's your time to ask them. We'll get to them in just a moment. But first, Zoe, everything you set up as far as the context for that song was a very specific story.
Yes, sorry.
How did you come to tell that story?
Right. So I have to give credit where credit is due. Michelle Lowe, my book writer, honestly, like a lot of this concept's hers. I have to say, yes, Katrina, I love you. It's a cool thing about the Transport Group Commission that they commission people in different decades. Like, so Queen of the Mist was from, I want to say, the aughts. Lacusa is also Brill, and I think it was the aughts. But so by being given a specific time in American history, you hone in, and I think, we wanted to tell a story that looked at the tension between women of different generations of that time, but through a lens that explores what it means for this particular protagonist. It wasn't like she wasn't allowed into the workplace, but actually like what she did in the war, the job that she did in the war, what she learned about, made her shut down fully. And so it's a lot about like feminism through a different kind of lens that's more specific, I think. I mean, that's, as you said, it's like quite a specific story. I also think like anytime you're telling a mother-daughter story, I'm like, sign me up. So.
And I love hearing about women writing stories about women.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I first got pages for Michelle, it was like, I was like, this is you and your daughter. I've seen you together. And it is so, as a result, there's such depth to the way she writes that relationship, even just in the moment where the mother gets her daughter out of bed in the middle of the night. And like the banter between them when the daughter is like, why are you waking me up? And you're just like, you just feel that understanding of who these women are. So I feel, credit to Michelle, and it makes it really easy to write songs for them.
Amazing. Well, speaking of music and composer lyricists, do you have composers that you look up to, female composers? Do you have a favorite musical by any female composers, or what? Let's talk about women.
Let's talk about women. Yes. Well, I mean, I have to give a shout to a dear friend and collaborator, Marcia Norman, because
dear friend and collaborator, huh?
If I didn't name her first, is one of the greatest female musical theater writers and a lyricist and also a book writer. And what she and Lucy did, Secret Garden, and her work on Color Purple. I mean, she's just.
Daisy Egan has hosted our A Little New Music.
Has she?
Has.
Keeping it in the family. I love that.
World.
She's awesome. And, I think, you have to say Janine. Janine Tesori has been such a game changer in so many ways. And I think one thing that I respect so deeply about the way she writes is she creates musical worlds that are so distinct for each of her shows.
Oh, totally. Her pastiche work is like incredible. Have you seen Fun Home? Did you see Fun Home?
I haven't seen.
Did you see Fun Home?
I saw Fun Home, and yes, I mean, and it's like to know the person who wrote Fun Home, wrote Violet, wrote Caroline or Change.
Caroline or Change.
Just
wow.
That's and she's just
thoroughly modern Millie.
And Millie, and Soft Power, and it's just the list goes on. Yeah, and it's because I don't know, I couldn't tell you she's lovely, and I also have never gotten into a deep conversation about her process, but I would imagine it comes from a place of writing characters and worlds and letting that inspire her music. So I think she's really one of the greats as well.
That's awesome. We have some time now for audience questions. So, Bree Johns asks, what's the one accomplishment you're most proud of, personal or professional?
I actually am going to make a really silly inside joke for anyone who likes British Bake Off, where I'm like, when I made my parents proud for the first time, if anybody, like every contestant when they win Bake Off, and they're like, I made my parents proud. I sort of feel that, though.
You have to do with a British accent, though.
Yes, oh, well, I won't even try. Gosh, it's funny. I think that this is going to be a weird answer, but the accomplishments that I feel most proud of, like truly, are moments of production or performance where I hear something that I heard in my head and I like hear it really come to life, and I like see people like cry or what, but more importantly, actually, I hear the thing. I finally hear the thing. And there's actually it's more than more than anything else that really, that's it. That sounds, I think no one's going to believe that answer. But the thing about winning an award is then you want the next one, or this production. I know this so well. It's like you have this production set, but you're worried about why this one's not set yet. And the time that you can forget all of that is when you hear something and get lost in oh my God, that harmony actually made me feel that thing that I've been searching for.
Fantastic. Eric Cornwell asks, where do your projects come from? Home Depot?
Yeah, they sell them at good discounts. So if you want a cheap project, Home Depot.
Good to know.
Yeah, that I've done better with jokes. Okay, well, where do I guess it's a range of things. So I have a show afterwards that is honestly been a decade in the making, and it came from look at that.
Who produces this thing?
Amy for the win. So that honestly came from a period of time where I lost several of my grandparents at the same time, and I was thinking through, and I was living with my sister, and that combination of things sort of became a personal thing that I started writing. Didn't really know what I was writing. I wrote these sisters. It developed over time. My book writer Emily Kazmarek came on. It really came from me kind of blindly writing about something that I was chasing and didn't know. On the other hand, there are projects that are literally my producer gets a call and says, my agent gets a call and says, do you want to do the adaptation of Empire Records? And I'm like, I love that movie. That makes me so psyched. Yes. Or a property, there are a couple properties that I'm adapting that I had to, have a producer put together a team and go get those rights. It's all kinds of ways. Most importantly, you just ask yourself the question, can you live with it for, 4 to 200 years? And that's how long you'll be working on it. So you have to know you'll love it.
Yep. Fantastic. All right. Any other questions out there?
Keith Anthony says, incredible writing and vocals.
Hey, Keith.
What would you write on your own ticket, Zoe? I think that's a reference back to your song, but if you could write your own ticket, what would you write on it?
Can I just be ridiculous and everyone's gonna be like, Zoe?
I mean, that's what we're here for.
If you want to drop the F-bomb, go ahead.
I feel like dream big, an EGOT. That's what I want on my ticket. There we go. Dream big. Let's just go for it. Never say never. Let's do it. You heard it here first. You're or to Turkey to visit.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Do we have any other audience questions? I don't know. It's a mystery. Will one appear?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's find out. I don't see any other.
Oh my gosh, y'all. That was you had your chance. Well, Zoe, we have a couple more questions that we're asking every Spotlight Series writer.
Yes, we ask every Spotlight Series writer this, almost like inside the actor studio.
Almost like.
We are James Lipton. It's more like inside the musical theater session studio, right? So, Zoe, are you ready for your spotlight?
Here I am. I'm ready.
Okay, good.
Zoe, what was the first musical you ever saw or first Broadway show you ever saw?
So I have an answer that I think is true, and then the second I'm sure. So I have this very vague memory of seeing Guys and Dolls when it was the revival in the early 90s. And Peter Gallagher, maybe?
Peter Gallagher played Sky Masterson.
Yes.
And Josie de Guzman played Sarah. Nathan Lane played Nathan Detroit. And Faith Prince played, what's her name? Adelaide.
Adelaide. Right. Oh, okay.
J.K. Simmons was also in that.
Which I adore that fact. That's just wild.
And Walter Bobby as well. Okay.
What? Okay. So no wonder I became a musical theater writer. I saw that. So I remember that very, wispy, vaguely because I was way too young to see that. I don't think I understood it. And then I remember my middle school taking a field trip to seeing Chicago, which also risque.
Wow. It is risque.
Cool. But that I remember really well, and I was obsessed with.
So this is the same middle school that also performed your song.
Same one. So clearly great taste.
Right. Great taste. So our second question, Zoe, who would you drop everything to go see perform live, and they could be with us or not?
So I have to be honest and say a quick, it's not even interesting because I would love to see Paul McCartney, and I would have, but more I would have loved to see the Beatles in 1962. So Beatles 1962, and similar time period, if I could see Aretha Franklin.
Ooh.
I think, that would be, what else do you need to hear? So those are two for sure. And I think that I did actually get to see Prince a few years ago, but I feel like I would have also liked to see Prince a few decades ago as well. Though he still had it. I just want to be very clear.
Yeah, 100%.
Love me do.
Okay. We have one more of our three.
Okay, great. Let's get back to the show, folks. Okay. So, Zoe, who is going to play you in the musical version of your life?
I remember you prepared me for this question, and I have two answers. Answer one makes no sense because it's like predate whatever, but Carole King feels like my spirit animal, and so I just am I play Carole, she plays me, whatever. I'm just and then my current answer, though I don't know if she sings, I think probably not, because I feel like if she did, I'd know, and I would be doing something about this, is Camille Cotin, who is just I don't know. Camille, play me a thing, please.
Camille Cotin, who people may not know, is from Call Your Agent, the very popular French. Call my agent or your agent. Call my agent.
Our agents.
The French, yeah. Call your people. Have your people call my people, and we'll do lunch. Wait, so you wouldn't have?
Go watch it if you haven't. It's so good.
You wouldn't have Jessie Mueller, who's played Carole King, play you. You'd rather just have Carole King play you.
Okay, that's brilliant. And if Jessie Mueller would be psyched to play me in the biopic, I think I'd be pretty lucky. So I'm not even going to respond other than just cool too. That's great. Also, her voice, the music to the biopic would be so.
So Zoe, we are so grateful that you have been able to be with us tonight. And before we go, we just want to see if you could tell us a little bit more about what's next for you.
Yes, well, theater is reopening, so that's thrilling. So I have a world premiere happening in the fall, which all you East Coasters, it's called A Crossing. It's opening at Barrington. Yes, that's the one. Tickets actually are already on sale. It's beautiful. They've made their main stage COVID safe, and it's kind of amazing. We start rehearsals in August. I'm sort of pinching myself.
They're one of the first big regional theaters, I think, to do this COVID safe seating early on.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Julie really has been kind of a leader. It's very beautiful to have seen, and so we're we're running full production September, October, and it's a piece that it's developed like with myself and Josh Bergatz and also Calpulli Mexican Dance Company, which is a local Queens-based dance company that does Mexican folk dance, and Mark St. Germain wrote the book. So it's been this like collaboration between theater artists and dance artists, and it's sort of like an after midnight style dance musical hybrid about migrants crossing the Mexico-U.S. border. So yeah, it's been a great gift, and just honestly, personally, like to speak to what we were talking about, Janine, earlier, getting to work with my musical collaborators from Calpulli, like I've learned a whole new dance world in like co-creating music with a sort of orchestrator composer who has like an entirely different background to me. Like I've learned a whole sound that I didn't know, and hopefully I'm contributing something, along the way too. But it's a very cool sort of co-written hybrid piece. Dance musical.
We are the melting pot, aren't we?
Anything else you want to share with our audience as far as what you got what you're working on?
Well, the thing that's a little bit wonky is I have a second world premiere in the spring of 22, but it's getting announced at the end of the week this week. So instead of being able to be like, I'll say keep an eye on my Instagram, Twitter. I actually like have through the whole sort of pandemic time basically just written and been off social, and I'm like, I will start again, and so I will share the details when they come out. So keep an eye out for a spring 22 world premiere on the West Coast.
Hey, that's where we are.
Is it? I didn't do that. I don't know what that is.
No, we have a pretty ridiculous production team here, but
the spirits.
We're doing what we can, what we got. Okay, all right. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight.
Now, for our audience out there, you can watch Zoe's songs that have been performed on the A Little New Music stage. Just go to youtube.com/ALittleNewMusic.
And we asked about this at the start. We're just going to remind you again, if you can, please help us bring you even more writers on future shows by scanning the QR code on the screen, which is over there, just below.
Oh, there
Zoe,
it is.
Just below Zoe. And giving what you can. Your contributions compensate our performers and writers, including Zoe and Katrina.
We would like to give a shout out to our team working behind the curtain, as we say here in the showbiz.
We do.
They have helped make tonight possible. Here's a Little New Music Spotlight Series executive producer, Amy Francis Schott. Come on out, Amy. Take a bow.
Hi, y'all. Zoe, thank you so much for being a part of this. I remember you back in those long ago days when you were in your 20s, which was just a few years ago. Not that long ago. But I'm so happy that we were able to have you on here with us. I want to thank Ryan Baldwin, who has taught me all the things I know about running StreamYard, and who has been in the chat with you guys, sending you all those useful links that you can click on tonight. And I wanted to ask everybody to tune in 2 weeks. Something weird is happening sound-wise. For Meinwald and Leary, who we have featured a couple of times in our shows, and we are very much looking forward to them. They've written shows like Pregnancy Pact and The Magnificent Seven, and we're looking forward to that a lot.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to speak a little louder because there's a helicopter landing outside our house.
It's the helicopter from Miss Saigon. They brought it down especially for this show. We want to thank you, Michelle Schoenberg and Alan Bubel. Been such an inspiration.
Oh my gosh. We also want to thank Peter Welkin and Chris Makish for their continued support.
And we'd also like to thank, the ASCAP Foundation and New Musicals Incorporated for their support of our work.
Zoe, thank you again for being with us tonight.
Please.
Thank you for having me. It's such a joy.
Of course.
Zoe, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. And Facebook. Follow us on Facebook.
And that's for everyone, not just Zoe. And
have a great night, everybody.
Night.
Thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
I did the wrong thing.